Hello everyone, my name is Rehan Zia. I'm a senior academic at the National Centre for Computer Animation, Bournemouth University, UK. This is a virtual presentation for the 15th International Conference on the Arts in Society. My presentation is titled Digital Photography as Reflexive Practice. Now the reflexive practice approach is a method that I used during my PhD in multi-shot high dynamic range landscape photography. I teach visual effects, and my photography practice is also based on this visual effects approach, with the philosophy being that during the acquisition process I'm working to create a preconceived look for the image, but also giving myself the flexibility to evolve that look later during post-production or experiment with different looks for the image. Now, contemporary digital photograph workflow or photography workflow can be divided into two stages. You have the photography stage, where you're actually on set or on location, and the post-production stage, where you're working on the computer and doing post-production adjustments, and when it comes to multi-shot photography, stitching images together or blending exposures and so on. The photography stage is very much time critical because you're trying to capture the scene elements at their highest peak or drama, the decisive moment, as Cartier-Bresson put it. And so you have to respond very, very quickly. You have to analyze the scene elements, the environment around you, the creative intent that you have for the look of the image, and you try and marry that as best as possible. The post-production stage allows you to actually reflect more. You have more time, you're in a more leisurely state, and therefore you can take more time to have deeper reflection, and you can incorporate those results at a more leisurely pace. The digital photograph itself, the plasticity of the digital photograph far exceeds that of its film counterpart, as Ritchin put it, and it needs to be evaluated in its own right. One of the other things about the digital photograph is the fact that you have immediate feedback. As soon as you take the image, you can see what you've captured at the back of the camera. You can look at the image histogram, you can zoom into the image that you've just taken, and you can look at specific elements and whether they are to your liking in terms of the creative intent for the shot. Similarly, when it comes to post-production, you can see the impact of the changes that you're making as you are making them, which is not something we could do with film photography when it came to darkroom processes. And it is that flexibility that lets you respond much more quickly to the changes and to the look of the image. You can also compare different looks to the image to inform your creative decision making. Now, reflexive practice is very much, I'm using Schoen's approach here of reflection in action and on action, but also at the same time reflection before action. So one of the things when I'm out on location on a shoot is the first thing is figuring out what tools do I want to use to capture the scene as I envisage it. What would be the ideal camera body that I have at my disposal at that time? What would be the best choice for a particular lens that I need to use? And all of this has to be done relatively quickly so as not to miss the drama unfolding in the scene. There's also the sense of holistic reflection, which is what reflexivity is about. It's about what's going on inside me as much as what's going out in the outside environment. So this reflection is very holistic. It's not just about what I'm seeing, but it's also about my creative intent, my own emotions, my own expertise, the environment, and the subject that I'm photographing. The reflection also combines the past, present, and future. So the past being the explicit knowledge or past experiences, which are made explicit, as Polanyi put it. They're made explicit when we come across a situation which is of conflict, and we need to draw upon that that tacit knowledge to make it explicit. The present conditions is again analyzing the situation we're in and looking for the best way forward out of that situation. And as well as that, we are planning for the future. And so in my case, I'm looking at what I'm capturing, would that allow me enough flexibility, and how much flexibility do I actually want? How much deviation from the look, that preconceived look that I have, how much deviation would I need? Or how confident am I about the fact that this, what I'm capturing, is what I want, and I would not want to alter it any further. It's improvisational, you're responding to the changing environment all the time, so it's very much a performance that is based around what's happening around you and inside you, and the changing parameters of the environment. Self-awareness and mindfulness is critical to this. And the immediate response to changing scene due to practitioner intuition informed by tacit knowledge. So, when we think about reflexivity, it's about the environment that we're in, the subject, the tools that we're working with, as well as the self. And none of these are perfect. So what we're trying to do is create sense out of chaos. And at any point in time, what we're doing is reflecting on the past, drawing upon the the tacit knowledge, making it explicit, the present situation that we're in, and thinking about how we're going to use this in the future. So the decisions I'm making now, what if impact would they have on the workflow later down in the pipeline? And if you think about it, the artifact and the practice, so we have our photography and we have post-production processes. I might start photographing an image here, but at the same time, as I said, thinking about the past, present, and future in that instant. We go into the post stage, and again, we are drawing upon our tacit knowledge, making it explicit, looking at the present results that we've got, and thinking about how we can create better results in the future. So this image here would be produced and finalized, and then we would move on to the next cycle and the next set of images. So the practice continues over time, and each time it helps us make better pictures. Now the point is it critical? And one of the common critiques about rapid reflection or reflection in action is exactly just in terms of the depth of that critique. How far can we go? Nelson has argued that rigor in practice research lies in syncretism rather than depth mining. And I believe this to be true because when we're reflecting at the stage, when we're photographing, we have to consider all of these things. We have to consider the subject, the dynamic range, the scale of our framing, the movement in the scene, the environment around us. So if I'm photographing in gale force winds, there would be tremendous camera shake, and I need to get the picture as quickly as possible, but there may also be a low light situation. And I have to respond to all of those things. Distractions in the background as I'm taking the picture, the accessibility to the location, the tools that I have at my disposal in that time. So how precise are they? Should I consider using a wide scale lens and then cropping in? Should I use a telephoto lens and take multiple tiles to stitch a panorama later on? So all of these are informed about, all of these decisions are informed based on the expertise that I have with regards to the camera and the tools that I'm using. And then it's the self as well. So how quickly can I respond? The tacit knowledge that I have, or my own craft competency and expertise. Being mindful of what's going on around me so as not to miss a key moment that I might need to photograph. The workflow preferences that I have, my creative intent, and the latitude. So these are just some examples. In the first case, high wind situation, I couldn't get the tripod high enough. I'm trying to shoot standing using a telephoto lens, and didn't get very good results, of course, because I needed a stable tripod for this. On the other hand, this is Kevra salt mines, and I'm very aware that I'm actually blocking an access point. So I had to take the pictures, a full 180 degree panorama, very, very quickly, and move out of the way. So all of those things, this is a top of a minaret in Wazir Khan Mosque in Lahore. I wasn't allowed to use a tripod, so I had to use a wide angle lens. I was still photographing a panorama, but I had to balance it and stabilize it using the ledge here. Again, Eilean Castle in Scotland, trying to keep the wind off the camera, at the same time managing the camera, trying to focus on the environment and the movement in the clouds and the sea, all at the same time, and using a tablet to actually have a better sense of the photographs that I've taken. I was also documenting the process because the metadata in the digital photograph will tell you about the image, what the parameters were. It will not tell you why those parameters were chosen. So one of the approaches to this was using a 360 camera or a GoPro on top of my own DSLR camera, the primary camera, and record and speak aloud what I was doing as I was doing it. So just an image about tools and the decisions you have to make at the photography stage. And this is just a very quick example of the changing environment in the scene and responding to it. So with a 360 camera, I can focus upon not just what I'm doing, it's showing how the scene is unfolding. It's also demonstrating and showing my own actions and what I'm doing at that point. So this is again material that I can reflect upon at a later stage. And these are my references. Thank you for watching.